On this Monday night, we are inside Venezuela, a country in political crisis. As millions flee crushing poverty, the stories of the vulnerable left behind, their hopes and fears if the government falls.
Canada is stepping up.
The role Canada will play in shaping Venezuela's future.
Fear and anger, loss, deep, deep sadness.
Bruce McArthur's terrible crimes detailed in a Toronto courtroom as we learn more about the lives cut short. What investigators have learned from this case that could stop a serial killer.
And we go in depth in Alberta. How long can you hang on?
Not very long. Guarantee you, not long.
A former boomtown now facing layoffs, bankruptcies, and foreclosures.
We pull together regardless of the downturn of the economy.
Tonight, their message for the rest of Canada. This is The National.
In a packed Toronto courtroom in front of the families and friends of his victims, Bruce McArthur sat silently as details of his crimes were laid out. He targeted and killed 8 men. Joanna Remiliotis has been following this story from the very start and was in court today. And a warning, some of the details you're about to hear are disturbing.
What we already knew about these men's murders was chilling. Today, it only got worse. These photos among a cache found on Bruce McArthur's devices. And as the convicted serial killer stared blankly ahead, the Crown described how he killed them in a sickening litany of facts and exhibits. McArthur's bedroom, where most of the murders took place, the rope he kept by his bed to strangle some of his victims, the metal bar he used to tighten the ligature. Court also heard he took dozens of photos of his dead victims on a fur coat, wearing a fur hat, sometimes with a cigar in their mouth, that he shaved their heads and faces, kept the hair and other mementos like a notebook and jewelry.
It's really heavy. There's a few tears and people I think are just in shock in terms of what they're hearing. They're not going into too much detail, but they are explaining with some detail of the occurrences. So it's just heavy in the room, if I can say that.
The indignities continued even after McArthur hid his victims' body parts in planters at a home where he stored his landscaping tools. Court heard the remains were disturbed after they had decomposed, and that McArthur wrapped and buried a set of remains in this blue container in the ravine area behind the home, and buried other body parts in the area as well. This friend was among the stunned friends and family in the courtroom.
For me, it's a story without an ending. You know, for me, it doesn't bring closure for me personally. It doesn't bring satisfaction at all. It only, poses more questions and more speculation on why.
There was no answer to why, but in a wrenching stream of victim impact statements, friends and family members described how gutted they still are. From Andrew Kinsman's sister, Karen Coles, I lie awake thinking about how he was murdered and dismembered by someone he knew. From his best friend, Greg Dunn, I miss you something crazy, my beautiful, amazing friend. From Salim Essen's family, our lives were shattered with the shocking news. We can't come to terms with his savage murder. And from the daughter of Dean Leswick, who never knew her father but hoped to one day, I will now always have to live with knowing I will never have a relationship with my father.
I think of the mothers.
Reverend Deanna Dudley helped memorialize many of the victims and spoke on behalf of the community too.
It's not going away anytime soon.
And what is it that is lasting?
Fear, anger, fear and anger, loss, deep, deep sadness.
And Andrew, we expect to hear more victim impact statements in court tomorrow.
Okay. Meantime, today, Joanna, we learned more about 2 men who had encounters with McArthur and survived and escaped.
Yes, and one was in 2016. He was a man who met McArthur for a sexual encounter in his van in a parking lot. He says McArthur suddenly got very angry and started to strangle him with such force that he wasn't able to swallow for a week. That man went to police. Police questioned McArthur and let him go. The second incident that we heard about and has been reported, when police arrested McArthur, they found a man handcuffed to his bed. But what's chilling is that today they revealed that McArthur had folders on his computer with photos of every single one of his 8 victims and had a folder set up with this man's name. So it's possible that man could have been next.
Wow. Okay, Joanna, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Now, much of what we learned today involved gruesome details of how McArthur's victims were killed. But friends and families also talked about the impact of these crimes and about the men they knew and loved. So, a look now at the lives they lived. McArthur is expected to be sentenced by the end of the week. The judge will have to decide whether he'll serve his time consecutively or all at once. Okay, let's turn now to another developing story, the situation in Venezuela. Adrian is inside the country again tonight. Adrian.
Andrew, signs of strife are everywhere here. Hope is really just one more thing that's in short supply. So in a moment, we'll show you firsthand how this political crisis is crushing its people. But first, here's a look at how things changed today.
We know that the people of Venezuela are facing tremendous hardship and they need our help.
Canada pledged $53 million to help Venezuelans at home and those who fled to neighboring lands, as Ottawa hosted the Lima group of countries dedicated to stabilizing Venezuela and establishing free elections. They recognize opposition leader Juan Guaido as the country's legitimate interim president, so that pits them against Nicolas Maduro, whom they denounce as a dictator clinging to power after a fixed election.
Al señor Guaidó Márquez.
Today, 13 European countries also lined up behind Guaido. At the Venezuelan border, the military knows humanitarian aid is expected to arrive this week. They are under increasing international pressure to let it in and give it to the people. Today, Guaido went further, accusing the Maduro regime of trying to siphon more than $1 billion from public coffers and illegally move it to Uruguay. If that's true, that kind of cash could do a lot to ease urgent suffering, as we saw all too clearly today. The worse it gets, the more they show up at these gates. Some abandoned by families who are fleeing the country, people who can no longer take care of them. They are the elderly. At this charity, it's just men who've come or been dropped off here. Architects, accountants, waiters once. Political affiliations of their youth vary, but now there is some unity in that anger. Maduro is a thief and a pothead, everything but a president. Total donkey, offers one. The worst, his friend chimes in. He should quit now and go wherever he wants. There are stories behind that bitterness. The days they spend here are with unreliable water, not much food, and more worrying, few of the drugs they need to survive. So it's donations that provide them what they have here, but not even money can get them what they really need, especially when you're talking about medicine. The Pharmaceutical Association of Venezuela says 85% of the medications are in short supply, which is why you'll see signs like this, basically telling people how to make their own medicine using vinegar and water to treat infections, because here, that's it. The Mother Superior looking after everyone, teasing them that Maduro is finished. He's not, of course. She seems to want to will it so.
Yo creo que va a mejorar. Ay, que logremos salir de esto. Sí, Hay que salir de esto. Ya, esto no se puede.
There's such a deterioration, moral deterioration, she says, in every sense of the word. Moral because there's no respect for anything. They don't respect the grandfathers. She's brave to talk like this. Some approached us to declare if they spoke out critically, they would lose their pension. It's happened already, we're told. That voice you hear, that's Juan Guaido, the man who would be president. He was somewhere in Caracas speaking publicly, and every word taken in so seriously here. As Guaido spoke about protecting the rights of each individual and a new day in the history of Venezuela, something just changed in this man. What's wrong, she asks. He tells a story about Chavez's men killing his son, and then listening to Guaido speak, becoming afraid he'll be stopped or arrested, and that the promised aid won't arrive. This man is alone. His children have left the country, but he wasn't well enough to join them. This is the Venezuela left behind. Now, thousands of kilometers away, more than a dozen nations gathered in Ottawa today to send a message to Maduro and really to address Venezuela's plight. They're putting more pressure on Maduro with yet another demand that he step aside. But as David Cochran tells us, the future of Venezuela may just rest in the hands of its military.
Far from the chaos in Venezuela, a message from the man who would be president. Juan Guaido urges them to increase pressure, but the countries gathered here need no convincing.
El momento para la transición democrática en Venezuela.
Justin Trudeau spoke with Guaido on Sunday to pledge Canada's support. Today, his foreign minister chaired a gathering of countries calling for Maduro to go.
Venezuela, under Nicolas Maduro's rule, has descended into chaos.
But as Freeland and Peru's foreign minister were outlining their plan, protesters masquerading as journalists interrupted.
Hands off Venezuela! Hands off Venezuela!
The Lima group is unlikely to take that advice. Their demand that Maduro quit isn't new, but one detail is. They want the army to switch sides.
We are indeed calling on the military of Venezuela, as we call on all Venezuelans and as we call on all governments of the world, to recognize Juan Guaido as interim president of Venezuela.
A shift in military support could shift Venezuela's balance of power.
We need more and more pressure on the top of the army force and in the top of the political dictatorship.
International pressure is also ramping up, as key European countries have formally recognized Guaido.
We are seeing already some people from around Maduro desert him. We urge everyone around Nicolas Maduro to turn their back on him.
Everybody is helping, and this is a fight of the free world against Maduro.
The free world, but not their militaries. The plan for now is to stick with forceful words rather than the use of force. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
So as the world...
Now to a CBC News investigation. The Canada Border Services Agency's duty is keeping Canadians safe. So it's in the agency's power to detain, search, and even deport. But when it comes to maintaining checks and balances, it is the only major federal law enforcement body in Canada with no civilian oversight. In many cases, the CBSA investigates itself. CBC News has now obtained data that reveals just how often that happens. Our senior investigative correspondent, Diana Swain, explains.
Advocates for undocumented workers block the gates and try to stop a deportation. They don't realize border agents have already moved a Montreal woman through a rear fence and put her on a plane back to Guatemala. Carrying out deportations is one of the duties of CBSA. But in this case, Lucy Granados was still injured from what she says happened weeks earlier during her arrest at her apartment.
I heard a male voice saying, "Madame, Madame, Madame," and then the line went dead.
Mary Foster got a call from Granados the morning 4 border officers arrived.
She was grabbed by the back of the neck. Her arm was twisted behind her back. She was slammed into the table and then onto the floor.
Reached in Guatemala, Granados says nearly a year later, she still only has partial use of her left arm. They grabbed me like an animal, she says. I don't know why they treated me like that.
Sadly,
Montreal doctor Nazila Betash examined Granados' medical file.
she had a traumatic injury, probably during the time of the arrest, which basically damaged the nerves in her cervical spine and subsequently caused her arm to become paralyzed.
At least one officer later claimed in internal reports some force was necessary. Who's right? Well, the CBSA gets to decide that because it's the only major law enforcement body in Canada that still investigates itself. There is no outside oversight. Now, CBC News has obtained documents through an access to information request that provides a rare glimpse at just how often the agency is investigating its own. Between January of 2016 and July of last year, CBSA investigated 1,200 allegations of misconduct against its own staff. Alleged offenses include neglect of duty, criminal association, and excessive use of force. Some specifics alleged in the data: smuggling, accessing confidential information on an ex-girlfriend, even an employee with a hit list of colleagues who'd crossed him.
We don't know if anybody was disciplined, if anybody was fired.
No.
We showed the list to Toronto immigration lawyer Joel Sandelot.
I hear accounts from clients on a regular basis about treatment at the hands of CBSA officers.
But why do you believe outside oversight is necessary?
It is difficult for me to imagine another kind of agency in Canada that operates using firearms with the authority to arrest and detain individuals, has simply no way to be challenged or questioned in a public way about the conduct that they've engaged in.
Better civilian oversight of the
For the past 3 years, the federal government has been promising to bring in oversight.
There are some anomalies here in the system that we have to correct.
Granados and her supporters aren't waiting. They've decided to file a human rights complaint directly with the United Nations. This is a big agency, Ian, over 14,000 staff. They had wide-ranging responsibilities. But because there's no oversight, we don't know how many of the complaints filed against those staff were determined to be founded or not, or what action was taken. The public only typically finds out when criminal charges are laid, and that has happened.
And so let's talk more about this lack of civilian oversight.
Well, the federal government initially started down the road of introducing legislation, then it abandoned it. And the government says it's trying to make sure that whatever system CBSA gets doesn't result in overlap or duplication of process. Now, Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodale would not agree to an interview, but his office says he is still committed to bringing in oversight. But consider what that means. Drafting legislation, getting it through committee, getting it passed, getting it royal assent, all of that before the House rises for the election campaign, which is going to be very tight timing, Ian.
Thanks, Diana.
Thank you.
Renewed concerns tonight about railway safety in this country. 3 CP crew members are dead after a freight train derailed in the Rocky Mountains. And tonight, the union says the train was traveling out of control, speeding down a hill before the fatal crash. It happened early this morning near Field. That's just west of Banff, close to the BC-Alberta border. And that's where we find our Aaron Collins.
The crash site is unsettling. Train cars so mangled it's difficult to tell where one stops and the other begins. These cars, hauling grain west, left the tracks on a bridge plummeting 60 meters to the frigid river valley below, killing 3 CP workers. Conductor Dylan Paradis, engineer Andrew Dockrell, and trainee Daniel Waldenberger-Bulmer. The union representing those workers says the train was a runaway, going 75 kilometers per hour, twice the speed limit, before crashing.
It isn't clear just what caused this train to lose control and derail, but it isn't the first time that's happened on this stretch of track.
Just last month, a train left the tracks in nearly the same spot. Well, no one died in that crash, but this former Transportation Safety Board investigator says a second crash so soon raises questions.
If you've got 2 incidents that might be similar, that's worth looking into. Like, what are the safety features in place to ensure this doesn't happen again?
The union has questions too, saying too many of their members are dying. 8 rail workers have died in Canada since November 2017.
We hope that the Government of Canada, as well as the rail industry as a whole, sees this accident as a wake-up call.
For its part, CP says today's crash will be fully investigated and that there's no threat to the public safety and there are no dangerous goods involved. Transportation Safety Board investigators are on the site of the crash. The TSB will provide an update in Calgary tomorrow. Aaron Collins, CBC News, near Field, BC.
Here's some of the developing stories we're watching tonight. Alberta in the grip of a deep freeze. Environment Canada has issued an extreme cold warning for nearly all of the province.
It's way colder than it normally is, man. Like, I am just not used to this kind of cold. It's absolutely brutal.
Sure is. Southern Alberta temperatures hovering around -30, and with the wind chill, feels more like -45. Temperatures that low put people at risk for frostbite and hypothermia. The deep freeze is expected to continue until Wednesday in southern Alberta, and in the northern part of the province, it's expected to last until Friday. More legal trouble for the U.S. President Donald Trump. According to several reports, the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office has subpoenaed Trump's inaugural committee. Prosecutors are seeking records related to the committee's donors and finances. A spokesperson for the committee says the subpoena is being reviewed and they intend to cooperate. Here's what else we're following tonight. On the National, the governor of Virginia refusing to resign over that racist yearbook photo. What the growing controversy says about race in America.
And as we learn more about how police stopped Bruce McArthur, a criminologist tells us what investigators can learn from this grisly case.
And this week we're going in depth on the future of Alberta. Tonight, I'll take you to Drayton Valley, Alberta, a town built on oil with a message for the rest of the country. There are a lot of people, you know, you've seen them on TV who don't like pipelines. They don't want pipelines.
Exactly.
What do you say to that?
Well, again, then we stop the transfer payments. We stop the donation to the rest of Canada. Keep it for Alberta.
My name is Angela Anderson, and I live a low to zero waste lifestyle. I noticed one day going down the back alleyway, and the garbage just were like over the top, right? All over the ground and stuff, and I was just like, something has to change. Come on in, guys. So recycling is helpful, but there's a lot more that you can do. I bought some produce bags, and I got some reusable shopping bags, and I just kind of started. When we do shop, we are very aware of the packaging that our stuff comes in. I will look for things in glass because I know that I'm going to be reusing the glass. Okay, so this is our reuse bin. So we put things like, this is a broken bottle, but I'm sure the kids will find something to use for a mustard container. I bring my 8 cartons back to the farmers so they can reuse them, and along with clamshells, as much as they are recyclable, they still, the farmers can use them to put their berries back into so they don't have to produce more waste. I don't sit around all day making lotions and toothpaste, and I don't make my own bread yet. So this is soap that I made, and then I buy deodorant in a glass container. My toothpaste is also in glass. My toothbrush is compostable, and as well as my dental floss is compostable. Buying meat is challenging because it's mostly in styrofoam and plastic. There are delis that you can go to that have butcher paper, but there's not much you can do with it. So our garbage for the day. I don't have a garbage bag. I reuse my plastic when I have it. And it's plastic. That's mostly what our garbage is, plastic. Well, I know that we don't take our bins out every week. I think I just took them out last week, and it was about 6 weeks, and it wasn't full. Isn't as simple as it can sound, I guess.
Whether it's worth 1,000 words or just leaves you speechless, this racist yearbook photo has put Virginia Governor Ralph Northam under increasing pressure to resign. So far, he's resisted. But as Paul Hunter tells us tonight, even the governor's own Democrats are having a hard time buying his multiple explanations.
In Richmond, Virginia today,
A demand echoed throughout the state. Democrat Ralph Northam needs to step aside now as state governor. It's all about an unsettling photo from Northam's medical school yearbook page in 1984. In his section, this one. Someone in blackface, someone else in a Ku Klux Klan costume. The clear implication, one of these two is Northam.
We have called for the resignation. We hope that's what the governor does. I think that would obviously be less pain for everyone.
Northam said today he wants more time to decide his next step.
Well, good afternoon.
On Saturday, Northam held a bizarre news conference. The day after he'd acknowledged he is in that photo, Northam had second thoughts.
I'm telling the truth today, that was not my picture.
He then insisted that despite his new certainty on that, there is another time.
That same year, I did participate in a dance contest in San Antonio, in which I darkened my face as part of a Michael Jackson costume. I used just a little bit of shoe polish to put under on my cheeks. And the reason I used a very little bit is because I don't know if anybody's ever tried that, but you cannot get shoe polish off.
All of it a reminder of this country's never-ending struggle with race. It was Virginia 2 summers ago where white nationalists staged that protest in Charlottesville that left one woman dead and Donald Trump seemingly defending some of the protesters as fine people. Just last month, this photo emerged from 2005 of Florida's Secretary of State dressed as a survivor of Hurricane Katrina. He promptly resigned. And even in that old yearbook with Virginia's governor, there are other students on other pages in blackface, underlining whoever's behind that blackface and under that hood was hardly alone. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Next on The National, we go in-depth in Alberta. As the province decides its future in 2 elections this year, we begin a special series hearing from Albertans. First, I'll take you to Drayton Valley, once one of Canada's richest towns, now dealing with a devastating downturn. And Bighorn Country, home to gorgeous vistas, but the province's plan to protect it is proving beyond controversial. Aaron Collins takes us inside that debate. It's about more than just a park.
We're sitting there and we're watching our federal government taking away our ability to make a living through the oil and gas stuff that's going on. And then we got now a provincial government that's working to take away our access to the land.
You took literature at Oxford, did you not? I mean, you didn't.
Yes.
You weren't a child actor, or how did you come to be an actor?
Well, really by mistake. I came out of Oxford and didn't know really what I was going to do, and I'd made this student film just as a sort of joke while I was at Oxford, and then it got this premiere, and agents came up and said, "Do you want to act?" And I thought it'd be amusing for a year to do that while I worked out what I really wanted to do. And here I am, an embarrassing number of years later, still doing it.
So what? You just got the bug?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, it's once you just want to finally crack it, and then you think I'll give it up as soon as I cracked it, and you never quite do. But anyway, now with producing and doing a bit of writing and stuff, I feel as though it's a man's job again.
Now you're doing the producing, is also co-producing with your partner Elizabeth Hurley. How has that been? Because she's your boss in a way, isn't she, on this?
Yes,
no?
She is, but she is in life, you know. So it's no particular new thing. Yeah.
She just bosses you around on the set. She bosses you around in life.
Yeah, exactly. She just gets paid for it in this film.
Yeah. You also did a stint as a copywriter. Is that right?
Yes, I was in advertising. Yeah.
And how did you find that?
I loved it. I used to do. I used to write commercials for Mighty White sliced bread with all the goodness of brown but the great taste of white, and red striped lager and stuff like that. I wish I had a red striped lager now.
Why is it, do you think, that British comedy and British accents just break us up in North America?
I noticed it was very comforting when I was here making the film that there was lots of, my God, the British sitcoms you had on, it was like a treat. It was you have everything here. You have Aren't You Being Served? Are You Being Served?
Yes, Are You Being Served, yeah.
I can't remember, Benny Hill, a whole lot.
Absolutely Fabulous. We had Mr. Bean, you know, all the great comics.
Yeah. I don't know. I assumed in Canada it was because you're kind of half British and you get all that humor.
Yeah, I was talking to a British writer once who said to me that she thought Canadians got irony, was I think the way she put it. She said, you know, we got irony here more than they did in the
Yeah, I
States.
think you get irony, but I think you get silliness too. I think silly is the big difference. But everyone's always beastly about the Americans saying they don't get all that stuff, but they do, you know. I mean, if you watch their sitcoms, their best sitcoms are unbelievably funny, I think, and well written.
Oh, yes. I mean, when American writing is good, as it is in Frasier.
Yeah, Seinfeld is superb.
Seinfeld is superb, yes, that's true. They do get a bum rap in that sense, that everybody, it's very easy.
I think Friends is really well written.
Yeah.
I think, lots of that stuff. Murphy Brown.
Yeah. Now, what will you do now? I mean, you say this is a new venture for you, a little writing, a little producing. Will you do more of this? Or?
Yeah, that's what I like doing, yeah. Yeah.
What about directing? This is the big leap
Yeah,
that
I'd love to
everybody
try that.
eventually wants to make. Do you have any idea what kind of script would appeal to you? Or are you looking around for a project now?
Well, I'm always looking. You know, that's what we do. That's what Simon Films does. It develops ideas, and then you've got a few things I'm quite interested in. Yeah. It's just the problem is that I don't particularly want to direct myself. I think that's too much of an ordeal for your first thing. So I would have to take a lot of time out to go and direct a small thing.
You know, one of the nice things about this movie, Extreme Measures, in which you're very good, is that Michael Apted, the director, allows you to still be self-deprecating and funny. So you're not entirely, you know, unlike the characters that we've seen in other. I mean, for a movie that is so serious and treats a real moral dilemma, you have some very good lines.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we deliberately did that, especially in the first third, so that people would warm to the character. And
what is it you say to that awful guy you meet down when you're down examining? Well, you go down to find out about the autopsy, and you have this wonderful line. Do you remember what you say to the guy?
You're quite a creepy person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful line. Thanks very much. Nice to meet you.
Sure. Nice to meet you.
We've got people that aren't paying their bills right now. We've got homes being foreclosed upon.
Last December, on the steps of the provincial legislature, an Alberta oil town delivered 6,800 letters addressed to Justin Trudeau. Their message, low oil prices are hurting families, and something needs to change now. It is a message being heard across the province and getting louder as both a provincial and federal election is coming up. This week, we're going in-depth in Alberta, the challenges the province faces and what lies ahead. But let's start with those letters and that message from Drayton Valley. It's a town of just over 7,000 people, about a 90-minute drive southwest of Edmonton. We wanted to find out what residents say their governments need to do. This used to be a boom town. Ever since they struck oil here in the 1950s, Drayton Valley enjoyed the ups and occasional downs of life on the oil patch. But they've never seen anything like the current downturn. It's lasted more than 4 years. It started with the collapse in the international price of oil, but what's made it far worse is how little Alberta is getting for its oil from the U.S. People here say new pipelines to other markets are the lifelines this town needs to survive.
You just see a slow trickle, like every month there'll be, oh, there's another bankruptcy, there's another person closed their doors.
The mayor, Michael Dirksen, says when he was growing up, he heard there were more millionaires here per capita than any other place in Canada. As recently as 2012, a newspaper article described the town as having jobs galore. Not now.
You build up to a certain capacity to try to handle some of it to the best of your ability, and then you just have the rug pulled out from under you, and not really due to the economic climate that we're in. It has to do with the uncertainty that's being created by government policies.
What people in Drayton Valley want the rest of the country to know is how important oil is for the Canadian economy. That if Alberta does well, so does Canada. Early morning at the Drayton Valley Bakery. It's busy here, and it's easy to forget what's happening around town. Keith Jameson is one of the regulars, stopping here on his way to work. But that work, a mechanic shop, could close any day now.
Talking to some of the boys, they get a project, work, and then it runs out. They get a few days, and that's it.
That's what's keeping us going, is catering.
Tell me a little bit about this business.
It's a repair business. We look after a lot of oil fleets, a lot of personal people.
Yeah. Jameson's first shop opened in 1979, and he says over the years, economic slumps were actually good for his business. People would need to keep older cars on the road, but now there are fewer people and less money. How long can you hang on?
Not very long. Guarantee you, not long. I say we've lost 2,500 to 3,000 in the community, not necessarily right in town, but that's my opinion. And when you lose that many, then the town becomes overserviced. There's too many shops.
Jameson is down to one full-time employee. He's depleted his savings to try to keep this shop going. 5 years ago, when the economy was still strong, he was relying on this place for his retirement.
I should have walked away then. I would have had more equity, possibly at that time, than I have now to go. I have nothing now, next to nothing.
We've all seen hard luck stories in small towns, but the difference here is people say there's a way to fix this.
The pipeline. Get that oil flowing east and west. Get it out. That's what we need. And then, if it flows, there's other people that are going to be employed, right from manufacturing through to well servicing. It is going to build again.
But there are a lot of people, you've seen them on TV, who don't like pipelines. They don't want pipelines.
Exactly.
What do you say to that?
Well, again, then we stop the transfer payments. We stop the donation to the rest of Canada. Keep it for Alberta. That's how I feel. Nobody wants to help us. Why should we help them?
These trucks should be out in the oil fields. Instead, they sit idle and rusting. How different would this shop have looked 2 years ago?
Probably 2 or 3 more trucks in it.
Yeah.
Or they're all out.
Like Jameson, Gary Nelson has been in business here since the 70s. These sleek, expensive trucks are a sign of his success, but being parked here is a symptom of the slowdown. With oil prices so low for so long, petroleum companies are spending a lot less. And how long has it been like this?
2 years, 3 years, and it's just getting worse. And you can handle it for a while, but it's and these are nice trucks, but they're going to stay nice because they're going to be staying in here.
But in a cyclical business, maybe the cycle will turn.
I can't see it turning. They just don't seem to want to get any action for us. They're trying to step on us every which way they can. Got the parts for this engine now?
When Nelson says they, he's not just talking about government, but also average Canadians. A common complaint here is about people back east who are opposed to a pipeline from Alberta and rely instead on imported oil.
If we could get some oil to market, send it east, rather than bringing Saudi Arabia oil, use our own oil. Canada's got to get together rather than work apart. Why would we buy oil from Saudi Arabia when we've got tons over here?
So if we were to come back here next year or in a couple of years, what would we see in Drayton Valley?
If nothing changes, well, you'll see a lot less tax base coming out of here, tax money. A lot of the shops will be shut down. Motels are shutting down. Restaurants are shutting down.
Yeah.
Wow, it's depressing because a lot of these people that you've been with forever are having trouble.
Turns out motels are a pretty good measure of how things are going here. In boom times, Drayton Valley's population would swell with temporary workers. The Motel 8 would be full. But these days, occupancy is down by 80%. Some of the staff have left town. Those who remain, including the manager, Ray LeBeaucher, have to do a little bit of everything.
During the low season, I have to work at the front desk. One time I worked 40 hours a week here at the front desk. And at the same time, I was cleaning rooms, especially if we only have 10 rooms. No need to bring the housekeepers in.
LeBeaucher has resisted offers to move to other, busier locations. she still has hope that things might turn around.
I love Drayton Valley. This is my home. This is my town. And people here are so nice, very friendly, and we pulled together. Look at now, we have to serve our community dinner just to give us the optimistic that we are happy, like we are resilient.
As soon as you start talking about the dinner tonight, you smile.
Well, because it's a good for your heart, right? It symbolizes friendship, and we pull together regardless of the downturn of the economy.
This community dinner started with just 30 people. Now more than 300 turn out.
Was that amazing?
Yes.
Each month, a different business contributes money and time. And tonight, it's Le Beauchere's Motel. This is a town that was built on oil and the affluence and independence that came with that. But now people here say they need some help from the rest of Canada to get those pipelines built. And they're not sure what they have to do to get it. There's another political battle being waged in Alberta. On the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains, the fight is over the future of an area called the Bighorn. It is a beautiful slice of Canadian backcountry, northeast of Banff, that the NDP government wants to turn into a provincial park. The proposed plan would impose stiffer rules around things like off-roading and camping to better protect the sensitive wilderness. Environmentalists are on board, but some people who use the area are fighting back. Aaron Collins shows us why.
The views are breathtaking here in the remote Bighorn area of Alberta's Rockies. Stunning vistas and rugged terrain that attract people from around the world. Originally from Switzerland, Alan Ernst moved here 20 years ago.
And that is quite the view.
Yep. That's why we came here. To really enjoy the area and the peace and quiet.
Yeah.
So do our guests.
The Eco Lodge Ernst runs relies on the Bighorn's unspoiled wilderness, something he says is being eroded by an influx of dirt bikes, quads, and campers.
There's been a lot of damage, defacing of the land. It's a bit of a free-for-all. Right. So people come out here and, becomes party central for some.
Well, that party can spread all the way to the shores of Abraham Lake, near the headwaters of the North Saskatchewan River, a place where a unique natural phenomenon, methane gas trapped in the ice, draws curious bubble hunters from around the world. Protecting it is why Ernst likes a plan to turn this area into a series of provincial parks. A move dozens of scientists say would better protect the Bighorn, but that Ernst says has been used to stoke simmering political divisions.
Kind of right wing, left wing. Everybody is kind of insisting on their point of view and not willing to listen to the other side whatsoever.
It's an allegation that cuts both ways. The largely conservative residents here bristle at suggestions they're damaging the area, insisting off-roaders maintain the trails that wind through the Bighorn.
You're really the steward of these paths.
Oh, myself and a big group of us. We've been doing this for over 20 years.
But what do you get out of being out here?
Well, it's our backyard. We live, we work, and we play here. And it's important that we look after it. It's something we love to do.
The worry is change will mean the end of the road for riding these trails, something the province says won't happen. But there's little trust here for progressive governments in Edmonton and Ottawa, seen as out to get conservative Albertans.
We're sitting there and we're watching our federal government taking away our ability to make a living through the oil and gas stuff that's going on. And then we got now a provincial government that's working to take away our access to the land.
Proof that a park isn't just a park here in hyper-partisan Alberta, where the roots of long-held political grievances run deep. And with provincial and federal elections looming in the coming months, those divisions will likely only rev up. Aaron Collins, CBC News, near Sundre, Alberta.
This week on The National, we'll have more coverage on the issues facing Alberta. Tomorrow, Rosemary sits down with Jason Kenney, leader of the United Conservative Party of Alberta, to talk about the difficulties in oil, gas, and getting pipelines built. We'll also be giving some of you a chance to have your say with a special National in Conversation with Premier Rachel Notley. She'll be taking questions in person and on social media tomorrow night starting at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. You can join in live on cbcnews.ca or on the National's Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Black began his newspaper career in Sherbrooke, an English enclave in Quebec's eastern townships. He and two friends came here in 1969, and they put down $18,000 for the money-losing Sherbrooke Record. 8 years later, Black and his friends sold the paper and left town far richer than when they'd arrived. 2/3 of the Record staff had been let go. The printing press itself was sold, and the paper scaled back local coverage. But there was an early clue Black's newspapers would be political. The publisher supported the Vietnam War. Black defended President Johnson in an editorial, prompting much more than this letter of thanks from the American president. Black went to Vietnam and got privileged access to newsmakers. Today, Black's holdings stretch from Canada to Australia. Worldwide, he has 600 newspapers. His most famous assets are Britain's Daily Telegraph and the Jerusalem Post. In Canada alone, he controls 57 dailies, more than all other newspaper publishers combined. Since his days in Sherbrooke, Black's acquired the reputation of a tough negotiator. During a 3-week strike at the St. Catharines Standard last spring, Black faced off directly with employees.
You've been engaged in a campaign of misinformation and denigration of the employer that is an absolute outrage.
Seriously, I put this to you that your managers are misinforming you about what's going on there. And it's a sad day for the people of St. Catharines. It's a sad day for this company. This was once a proud company.
Still is, Mr. Murdoch.
In the end, workers' wages were frozen for 3 years, but their benefits package was improved. Black's competitors in Toronto are responding with huge ad campaigns and attempts to make the papers more accessible with new sections and more emphasis on presentation. Mary Deanne Shears is the Toronto Star's managing editor.
No, I wouldn't say we're worried, but I think that it would be wrong to say that we don't have some concerns about it. I mean, the market is not going to get richer in the financial sense simply because somebody starts a new newspaper. There's so much money out there, and that's it.
Okay. Is there room for 2 national newspapers in the market? Well, I guess the market will decide that. It's a small country, and this is partly a matter of the determination of the proprietors, as well as the appetite of the reading public. Perhaps the reading public will expand. I hope so.
While the existing dailies try to solidify their market position, the Post is just trying to get into the market. It will be distributed free for several months with the Financial Post, Southam's recent acquisition in a swap of assets and cash with Sun Media, owner of the Toronto Sun. Black is also aggressively recruiting top-rank reporters and columnists like Terence Corcoran, formerly of the Globe and Mail. Corcoran says the notion that Black uses papers as political platforms is oversimplistic.
Well, I think it's absurd, and the proof will be in the newspaper when it comes out, and people will be able to judge for themselves in reality. But if you look at the other Conrad Black newspapers across the country, you've got a range of opinions, a range of views, and this paper is going to have a mix. I happen to be a conservative, libertarian policy writer, and which may be why I was hired, but that's not going to reflect the whole paper by any means.
Reporter Philip Dumont used to be an economics advisor to former Ontario Liberal leader Lynn McLeod. That's hardly a right-wing credential.
Was never asked a question, was never given an ideological litmus test, nothing. Never occurred to anyone, never appeared, was never done. Just as long as I could do the job, do it on time, people are happy.
The Toronto Sun is less likely to lose readers because its demographics lie outside Black's target group, people of medium to high-level incomes with an interest in business and national affairs. Sun management says the new kid on the block only proves the vitality of the newspaper industry, but other financial questions linger.
People were in shock to hear what they heard. People were mesmerized by the amount of information that was put forward.
A difficult day in a Toronto courtroom as the facts of Bruce McArthur's crimes were read out loud. The details are terrible, but still, this case has investigators looking ahead to some of the lessons learned. So we turn to Mike Arntfield. He's a criminologist and an expert on cold cases and serial killings. I spoke to him earlier today. So in terms of lessons learned, what is the big takeaway for you that would inform how we think of these kinds of killings and killers in the future?
I learned when he was first arrested, for instance, that he had disposed of his victims in a manner that would allow him to continue to access them, to look at them. I mean, dismemberment is rare enough in its own right, but typically it's used for an instrumental purpose, such as to dispose of remains in a way that they won't be found or won't be identified, but to put them, to consolidate them in a place where they would immediately be linked back to him and where he could go and gaze upon them and knew sort of a secret about them no one else did, including the homeowners, to me suggested that we were dealing with a specific breed and a very frightening breed of serial offender known as a homicidal necrophile. So someone who places great erotic and fantasy value on death and on the dead. And based on what we heard today and over the last week in terms of photographs, in terms of posing, in terms of souvenir and trophy collection, in terms of these grotesque vignettes and sort of scenarios that he would put his victims into, this is all, as horrific as this sounds, actually quite consistent with what we know about these types of killers.
And explain that for me. I mean, what the keeping of souvenirs would tell you about the perpetrator.
A souvenir is an inanimate object, such as a driver's license or a piece of jewelry or a piece of clothing that a killer might keep for, as twisted as it sounds, posterity, something called relational paraphilic attachment. So again, a disordered erotic attachment to a victim and to their crime that allows them to relive it through an attachment to a material object. But a trophy is actually even rarer. We're talking about living tissue, hair, skin, a severed digit such as a finger in some cases, that's kept like it sounds as a trophy, as a signifier of a mission, of a victory, or something they can revisit.
For all the brutality of McArthur's crimes, the binding, the staging, the photographs, there was also a very methodical and deliberate attempt to hide what he'd done. What about that strikes you?
Well, again, this tells us serial offenders typically are broken down into two categories, and they're blanket categories, and they're not without some controversy, but organized versus disorganized. So an organized offender, again, is someone who doesn't necessarily act opportunistically or impulsively, but puts a great deal of rehearsal, mental energy, and fantasy preparation into their crimes. And we see that again with these homicidal necrophiles, as well as other very specific types of serial offenders. So yes, we see he covered his tracks to some degree with the use of investigative countermeasures, like using a payphone once initial contact was initiated and made, minimizing his digital footprint, knowing that many homicide investigations have a digital component. If he could minimize that, the opportunity for police to track him would be limited.
So does it come as any surprise then that police had multiple run-ins with McArthur over the years, interviewing him, and yet he continued to commit his crimes?
Again, this is consistent with other offenders, including offenders in Canada who have been questioned, including Bernardo, by police during the investigations. And I say this about cold cases and to law enforcement and to investigators. When a serial killer case in particular goes cold, and I'll say the name of the offender is likely already in the file and has probably already been spoken to, and he's been overlooked. He's been falsely screened out or excluded.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael.
All right. Thank you.
Now, first-degree murder carries a mandatory life sentence with no parole for 25 years. So the judge will have to decide whether to give McArthur a consecutive or a concurrent sentence. Either way, he'll be in prison at least until he's 91. Okay, still ahead on The National. Our moment. 2 years ago, he tried to stop a gunman inside a Quebec City mosque. Today, Ayman Durbali accepted a Medal of Bravery and explains why he still wants to give more.
The most important is education. And that's why I personally want to get involved in this.
Laser tag certainly looks high-tech, and it comes with a price tag to match. Buy all the gadgets, and it's well over $100. You get a device that shoots an infrared beam like the remote control on your TV and a sensor that decides when you've been hit. Kids have been scooping them up faster than they can be brought into Canada, over 100,000 this year. If you've managed to find one for your child, expect somebody else's will want to borrow it.
They want to play it, and they go out and we say no, and they say, oh, please, please, can we play it? It's so cool. And then we let them play it, and they always want to play it.
We see it as probably being the #1 toy, if not this year by the time Christmas rolls around, just because we haven't had the product, definitely for 1987.
The people who sell laser tag don't call it a war toy. They don't even call it a gun. Instead, it's a starlight. But there's no doubt children call it a gun, and they like one of its features, the silencer.
You put the gun, see, this it's loud, listen. And here, there's a switch there, and you put it, you can't hear it. You see, I shoot it and you can't hear it.
The war toys and toys of violence are designed for aggression and destruction, and only for that. They don't allow the child to go beyond that.
At the University of Toronto's Institute for Child Study, they've been watching children play for nearly 20 years. And here they make them check their guns at the door.
We are seeing children displaying a fair amount of anxiety these days about specific kinds of things, such as war.
Children are naturally aggressive, and war toys are one way to relieve that aggression. But at the Institute, they promote alternatives.
And I have watched children who were very angry pound away at a ball of clay and poke it and smash it and so on. So after a while, they became calmer, and the material allowed them to literally reconstruct, to become, instead of a destroyer, a builder.
If the toy is directed as a non-violent play atmosphere, I don't think there is a connotation of violence associated in the child's mind. I think most kids who play laser tag take it as being a futuristic game of tag.
This is the Laser Tag TV show. It's designed to sell the toy while it occupies your child every Saturday morning. There's no doubt children learn from watching these shows, but there's no evidence they learn to be violent. Watching these children, they don't seem to be violent. In fact, they seem so absorbed in the game, they rarely speak to each other. And that's another reason why Jennifer Hardacre is concerned.
Well, yes, children have always played tag, and it's probably a healthy kind of endeavor. For one thing, it exercises the heart and lungs, and it involves a lot of negotiation and a lot of, I touched you, no you didn't, this is home base, no it isn't, and so on, so that always there should be the option of restitution and reconstruction, whereas guns and tanks and so on destroy, and that's the end.
Finland has banned war toys. That doesn't seem likely here in Canada.
This is the family of Azzedine Soufiane. 2 years ago in a Quebec City mosque, he threw himself at Alexandre Bissonnette, trying to wrestle the gun away, but he died when Bissonnette broke free and shot him. Today, his wife and children accepted a Medal of Bravery on his behalf. He wasn't the only person honored for acts of courage that night. Survivor Emin Derbali suffered catastrophic injuries, but today said he wouldn't change that. His reflections on that day is our moment.
It's an honor for me and my family, and I'm very grateful toward the Quebec government.
In your mind, what is the solution or a solution to fighting hatred in this province?
The most important is education and sensibilization. So we have to make a lot of debate with the teenagers. I think that I would be a perfect example to show them the result of a hate crime. I'm happy that I was shot 7 times. So there are other people that they didn't have bullets. It makes me happy for me because I don't want other innocent people behind me to receive bullets that I have received.
Where will you put the medal?
In my bedroom.
You know, Andrew, you listened to Emin Derbali there, and obviously dignity and courage. But the other thing I was thinking is, he wants to go into schools and give his message about hate crimes and tolerance, and just imagine the impact he's going to have on students.
Well, and impact is so the right word, right? Because you think about the impact in that moment. I mean, you heard right. He said 7 bullets, right? I mean, he was shot 7 times. You think of all the lives he potentially saved in that moment, the precious seconds that he would have bought the other people in that room, and then, as you quite rightly point out, the impact that he may have for many, many years to come. That's The National for this Monday, February 4th. Good night.
Good night.